everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be a continuation of the first video, Committed to the Commitment. You can go back and watch that video if you want. I think it's just like 7 minutes or so long. We're going to be focusing on or taking information from Tia Mowry and her divorce. I think she's been divorced just about a year now or so, a little over a year, from her husband, ex-husband now, Corey Hardrict. They were married 14 years. They were together, I think, over 20. They dated for quite some time before entering into marital partnership. Tia now has a show called My Next Act. And the show is kind of centered around life after divorce, or her life after divorce, right? She's, for those who may not be familiar with Tia Mowry and just kind of coming on to with this particular show on television, reality show, Tia is like a childhood star. Her and her sister, her twin sister, had a show called Sister Sister. And from there, they did like movies on Disney together. They've done other films separately, other shows separately, and have just continued on. So they kind of, more so specifically Tia, since we're talking about her and her divorce, has been in the spotlight for quite some time. Tia's been a reality star probably the greater portion of her life now, being that she's in her 40s. She started, I think, when she was 13 or 14 years old. So yeah, that's the majority of her life. So growing up with the twin, working with your twin, then entering into started dating in her, I'm going to say 20s. That same partner entered into marriage, had children. And from what I'm getting from the show, she's always felt like she's been a part of a unit. She's never had a sense of independence or individuality. She's always been either Tia and Tamara, or now, Tia and Corey, that's her husband, or Tia and the kids, or Tia and the family. She's always been a part of a unit. And somewhere along the line, and I'm not privy to, things that were going on in the confinements of her marriage, but somewhere along the line, she started feeling unhappy. And as she put it, she didn't realize she had a voice. And so something happens to a woman in her 40s. And well, for most people, they call it the midlife crisis. But specifically with the women in your 40s, you're probably entering into perimenopause. If you haven't entered into it yet, you're going to be entering, perimenopause. So you're going through all of these hormonal changes that's affecting your mood and all of that capacity. And then on top of that, everyone, for the most part, generally speaking, experiences the midlife crisis. It's like, have I done enough? Did I do the right things? Did I make the right decisions? All these other things that I wanted to do, and I'm running out of time. And, you start feeling all of this pressure of wanting to make sure that you get the best out of your life that you possibly can, right? And so now you're probably wondering, well, what does that have to do with being committed to the commitment series? All right. So you start dating pretty young, you marry that person, your career is, took off at a very young age. So you've just been on the go. And never having a sense of independence can, it seems like in this instance, kind of make you feel like trapped. And I hate to say the word trapped, because I think marriage and children, family is grounding. I think it's a beautiful thing to experience. So I hate to use the word trapped, but probably always feeling that obligation or that responsibility, and never really just kind of being free and a little bit careless. And I want to live my life. And if I want to, go out and do this, and, I want to go out and do that. So unfortunately, though, when you're married and you have children, your life then becomes not about you. Regardless of how you feel or maybe feeling. And again, you got to take in consideration, she's probably in perimenopause. She's going through a midlife crisis. So it's like all these changes are going on internally. But then you have this external commitment of, I'm married and I have children. Those are, you can get rid of one, right? You can get rid of a marriage. Unfortunately, pretty easy nowadays to dissolve stuff. So then you break the commitment. What I think some people, and maybe this happened in their marriage, I don't know. People don't realize that you can, or you should be able to have the freedom to be yourself, or to go on different paths, different journeys, and explore yourself in your life, without making life altering decisions. And I don't know that she had that freedom in her marriage. I don't know if maybe she wanted to stop acting, or if she wanted to do this, and I don't know if if her husband was supportive at the time, or if he understood what she was saying. I don't know. Not privy to those conversations, so I'm just kind of generalizing here, but it's something that my grandfather once said to me. He and my grandmother were married till death did them part, 53 years. And he said to me, this is after my grandmother had passed, and we were just talking about relationships. He just started giving me a lot of relationship information. And he said, baby, he said, a sugar, as he would say it. He said, sometimes you're going with the other person. Sometimes they're going with you, and sometimes y'all are going together. And as I've gotten older, that's come to mean different things, right? Because sometimes I think what he was saying is sometimes you're making these decisions and you follow your partner's decisions, or they follow your decisions, or sometimes they're making decisions and you follow their decisions. All right, I'm going to ride with you on this. Okay, I'm going to ride with you on that. You're going to ride with me on this. And sometimes y'all are making those decisions together and you move forward. Either way, you should always be moving forward together. So if she wanted to be on this self-exploratory path, I would have hoped that he would have said, okay, this is what you want to do right now. Okay, fine. You want to join this book club? You don't want to join the book club. If you want to, go running at 4 a.m., if you want to do a marathon, a triathlon, do it. If it's going to give you that sense of happiness, that sense of freedom, that sense of peace, so that when you lay down next to me at night, we're still together. And vice versa. If he, whatever he wanted to do, if things he wanted to change about himself or his life, his career, I would have hoped that she would have been supportive in that manner. And then again, sometimes you make decisions together and everything's in sync and we're moving forward together. And that's a process, but that's just a part of being committed to the commitment. Because a lifelong marriage is not going to be all about, I think everyone knows this by now, romance and cards and candies and trips and, I'm so in love and I get butterflies every time, this person, it may not always be that. Sometimes we're lovers. Sometimes we're friends. Sometimes it may feel like roommates. Sometimes it just feels like we're co-parenting. Like, who are we, living in this house together? Because that's how life changes. That's how you change. And so when people say that we've grown apart, it's just that you've both have grown, but you didn't make the conscious decision to grow together, because you're going to change. You're not who you are at 7, then, the person you were at 17 or, 25. You're going to grow. You're going to change. Your environment changes you. The way you feel about things changes you. You just change. But you have to make the conscious decision and the conscious effort to change together. And we have a lot of successful or lifelong marriages, I should say, in my family. I can recall, I have a cousin who's been married for quite some time, majority of her life, still married. And they used to love going out to the club. That was their thing. Friday, Saturday, they were out in the clubs. No spring chickens, but that was their thing. And as they've gotten older, that, of course, has somewhat changed into different things that they like to do. So you're going to grow. But what if one person wants to continuing doing this, but you're now wanting to do that? Again, that's the point to where, okay, well, Friday we'll do your thing, Saturday we'll do my thing, and Sunday we'll figure out something to do together. That's called being committed to the commitment. And even I think there are probably times, even though from the successful marriages that I've seen in my family, it doesn't really work out that way, where you may feel like you have to go on a journey on your own, which that's how you grow apart. Well, they're not going to support me, so I'm just going to do it anyway. And if we work, or whatever. And you're not looking in the long term. Yeah, that's a pretty great way to start growing apart, is when you start walking in another direction. Being committed to the commitment also means that sometimes there is a continual sacrifice of self. For your marriage, for your children, sometimes there is a continual sacrifice of self. And the other person too, not just you. And so perhaps there was an imbalance where she felt like she was always sacrificing herself, and maybe he wasn't sacrificing enough. Again, we're not privy to those intimate conversations that they have with each other, but obviously there was something there, where there was an imbalance or something took place, because they both have said there wasn't any infidelity, or there wasn't any type of physical abuse. And I know there's been hints on social media, like, just because she was making more, she was constantly working, and he was kind of just like this, always stayed the struggling actor, just kind of starting out getting roles. But if you go back and look at Corey Hardrick, and it's just a side note, he's worked. Now he's not had the notoriety that she's had, again, because she's a childhood star. She's from Tia and Tamara. She went on to do Disney. So he hasn't had that notoriety. But if you go back and look at his IMDb, he's been working. He's had roles, Again, not on the magnitude of hers, but I don't think he's gone 5-10 years and not had a job. Like, he's been working, He's doing what he can do in this very finicky career of Hollywood. And that's a whole other topic, especially with what's going on with, who mogul that's been arrested. Hollywood is very who and what you're willing to do. So maybe he's, kept his integrity and, all these kind of things. But back to the topic at hand. So I do think that there's just a lot of confusion that's going on with her. Again, some of that's perimenopause, probably. Some of that's midlife crisis, probably. And yeah, being married for X amount of years, the majority of your life, being a responsible, you probably feel like you're starting to lose your ish. You just want to just wild out, just want to be free for a moment, So I can understand that, but that comes along with being committed to the commitment. And if she wanted that sense of freedom, depending on what type of freedom it is, because I know some people say, well, she just dated young and she wants to experience this awesome, sex life or different, physical partners, physical intimacy partners. She probably, I don't know. I don't think she specifically said, I want to have, a revolving door in my bedroom, I think that's kind of just how we're taking stuff. But I would have hoped that she would have had the opportunity to have some sort of freedom within her marriage. And even now, she doesn't even seem happy. And that's kind of what happens in your 40s, That kind of happens to women. It's like you don't really know. You're not happy, but you don't know what it's going to take to make you happy. And so you change this, you change your hair, you cut it, you color it, you join a Pilates class, you do all these things. It's like, well, I'm still not happy. Sometimes you just have to just be still. Sometimes you just have to just be still. And I know it feels like time is just passing by and you want to grab everything you can. Sometimes you just have to be still and be flexible in your feelings, because those change, and stay committed to the commitment. We're going to go ahead and do a video 3 on this. I don't think we've even touched the surface. I really want to get into the womanhood of it all, the perimenopause, the midlife, all that stuff that happens in your 40s. I really want to delve into that. So we're going to go ahead and do a video 3 on this topic. But thanks for watching. If you didn't subscribe on your way in, definitely subscribe on your way out.